Thank you for tuning in to the Narrative Reading Bible Podcast. My name is Jessica. In this episode, we are going to cover Book 3, which is the third volume of the 6-volume Narrative Reading Bible collection. The book is called Providence and Perseverance, First Chronicles to Esther and Daniel. This book, like the other two that have come before it, includes a preface that explains the purpose of the Narrative Reading Bible, information about the metanarrative of Bible, or the grand story of redemption that is explained in all 6 volumes. It gives you an overview of the Old Testament and gives you a high-level introduction to each of the Old Testament books, including the author, approximate date of authorship, and the purpose of the book. Since that is covered in the first 2 books, I am not going to read that material again. I encourage you to get the physical copies of the book. You can access links to those. Go to thenarrativereadingbible.com. There you can purchase the books and get access to free resources to facilitate your small groups or book clubs of people who are reading these books. Today, I'm going to begin with an introduction to this particular volume and explain Providence and Perseverance. And after I've done that, since we are beginning our reading of First Chronicles, I'm going to do an introduction to the book of Chronicles, and then finally we will dive into the text, which is read in the Berean Standard Bible translation. Let's begin. This is on page 24. We're going to be reading through page 38. Providence and Perseverance, First Chronicles to Esther and Daniel. Providence and Perseverance reflects the journey of Israel from exile to restoration, highlighting God's sovereignty, faithfulness, and perseverance required of his people during uncertain times. These books provide a post-exilic perspective, recounting past events not merely as history, but as a testament to God's providence. Through this reflection, Israel is reminded of its identity, purpose, and the hope of ultimate redemption. Each book underscores the themes of creation, fall, redemption, and restoration, encouraging the exiled community to remain faithful as they await God's fulfillment of his promises. First Chronicles, renewing the covenant and identity. First Chronicles retells Israel's history with a focus on David and the covenant established with him, emphasizing God's promises to David's lineage. This narrative centers on worship, the temple, and the role of the Davidic line in God's redemptive plan, encouraging the exiles to reconnect with their heritage and identify as God's chosen people. By revisiting the history of David, the chronicler underscores the importance of worship and covenant fidelity as foundational to Israel's relationship with God, pointing to the hope of a coming Messiah. Second Chronicles, kingship, covenant, and consequences. Second Chronicles continues this retelling, emphasizing Judah's kings and their faithfulness or failure to uphold the covenant, culminating in the exile. Through the accounts of righteous and wayward kings, this book highlights the consequences of unfaithfulness while also showcasing the role of repentance in God's plan. The focus on temple worship and reforms by faithful kings serves as a call to the post-exilic community to restore both physical and spiritual order, reinforcing the idea that God's mercy and restoration are available to those who seek him wholeheartedly. Ezra, return and spiritual renewal. Ezra records the exiles' return to Jerusalem and the rebuilding of the temple, fulfilling God's promise to restore his people to their land. This book emphasizes the importance of reestablishing worship and obedience to the law, symbolizing Israel's renewed dedication to God. Ezra's efforts to lead the people back to covenant faithfulness reflect God's providence in bringing his people home and the necessity of spiritual renewal and maintaining their identity as a holy nation. Nehemiah, restoration of community and faith. Nehemiah focuses on the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls and the reformation of the community, showcasing how God empowers leaders to restore physical and spiritual fortitude. Nehemiah's leadership, coupled with the people's resilience, demonstrates the importance of communal solidarity and steadfast faith in overcoming external threats and internal divisions. Through perseverance and prayer, Nehemiah inspires the exiles to rebuild not only the city's walls, but also their communal identity and dedication to God, pointing to a greater future restoration. Esther, God's hidden providence and protection. Esther tells the story of God's providence in delivering his people from potential annihilation, even in a foreign land where his name is never directly mentioned. Through Esther's courage and the unseen hand of God, this narrative illustrates how God works behind the scenes to protect his people and fulfill his purposes, regardless of visible evidence. Esther's story reassures Israel that God's covenant loyalty endures, giving them hope that he will preserve them even when his presence seems distant. Daniel, faithfulness in exile and vision of eternal restoration. Daniel portrays God's sovereignty over nations and his faithfulness to those who remain true to him amid exile. Through narratives of unwavering faith and visions of future deliverance, Daniel provides hope that God's ultimate kingdom will prevail over earthly empires. Daniel's apocalyptic visions reveal a future restoration where God's rule will be fully established, encouraging steadfast faith in the certainty of God's redemptive plan, even when worldly powers oppose it. Contribution to redemption narrative. From 1 Chronicles to Esther and Daniel, these books provide Israel with a powerful message of hope and perseverance. They remind the post-exilic community that despite their histories of failure and the ongoing challenges of life under foreign rule, God's providence remains steadfast. This section of scripture underscores the necessity of covenant faithfulness and the assurance that God is actively working toward the ultimate redemption of his people. Providence and Perseverance encapsulates Israel's journey from exile to renewed commitment, reflecting on the past while looking forward to the future promise of restoration. These books remind us that God's redemptive purposes extend beyond immediate circumstances, reaching toward an ultimate fulfillment in the Messiah. They show that God's hand is at work in both monumental events and hidden moments, weaving all things into his sovereign plan. Through the faith and resilience of leaders and extraordinary people alike, these narratives call readers to a life of faith, patience, and trust in God's timing. They prepare us to see how God orchestrates history and works through individuals and nations, leading us to the New Testament's culmination of his redemptive plan in Jesus Christ. By immersing ourselves in these stories, we gain a deeper appreciation for the enduring nature of God's promises and the importance of steadfast, hope-filled faith that perseveres through trials, anchoring us in the promise of God's ultimate restoration. Introduction to 1 Chronicles. The book of 1 Chronicles revisits Israel's history with a distinct theological focus, centering on David's reign and the covenant God established with him. Unlike the earlier historical accounts, 1 Chronicles emphasizes the role of David and his lineage in God's ongoing redemptive plan, a focus that would have been especially meaningful to the post-exilic community for whom the text was intended. Having returned from Babylonian exile, the Israelites needed a renewed sense of purpose, heritage, and identity as God's chosen people. Through its retelling of Israel's history, 1 Chronicles seeks to remind the exiles of God's enduring promises, particularly the promise that David's line would one day produce a Messiah, a leader who would fulfill God's covenant and restore the kingdom. One of the central themes in 1 Chronicles is the Davidic covenant established between God and David. The chronicler recounts God's promise to David in 1 Chronicles 17, where God assures him, "I will establish my throne forever." 1 Chronicles 17:14. This covenant guarantees that David's lineage will endure and that one of his descendants will rule eternally. This divine promise becomes a focal point for Israel's hope, especially after the trauma of exile. By highlighting the Davidic covenant, the chronicler reinforces the idea that Israel's ultimate restoration is bound up in God's faithfulness to David's line, a line that would culminate in the Messiah. The chronicler emphasis on this promise would have served as a powerful reminder to the exile that God's redemptive plan remains intact despite their past failures, and that he is still committed to Israel's future. Worship and the temple are also central themes in 1 Chronicles, reflecting the importance of these elements in Israel's covenant relationship with God. David's preparations for the construction of the temple, detailed extensively in the book, underscore the significance of worship as the heart of Israel's national identity. Although David is not permitted to build the temple himself, he dedicates the latter years of his reign to gathering materials and organizing the Levites and priests who were served in the temple as an act that symbolizes his devotion to God and his commitment to Israel's worship life. By focusing on David's preparations for the temple rather than solely on his political or military achievements, the chronicler emphasizes that worship is foundational to Israel's identity and covenantal relationship with God. Worship, as represented by the temple, becomes not only a ritual, but a means of encountering God's presence, a reminder of his holiness, and a communal expression of Israel's dependence on him. The chronicler also highlights the organization of worship through detailed descriptions of the Levitical duties, musical arrangements, and sacrificial offerings. These details illustrate the ideal structure of worship and suggest that maintaining a proper focus on God is crucial for the nation's well-being. In emphasizing these aspects, the chronicler seeks to inspire the exiled community to prioritize worship and to reestablish the practices that had defined them as God's people. By reconnecting with their heritage of worship, the returning exiles would regain a sense of belonging and purpose, strengthening their relationship with God. This call to worship would have been a way of restoring the community's spiritual life, inviting the exiles to reaffirm their devotion and to renew their covenant commitment. The chronicler's focus on David and the Davidic covenant served to underscore the importance of covenant fidelity as the foundation of Israel's relationship with God. By recounting David's faithfulness, as well as his efforts to prepare for the temple, the chronicler paints an idealized portrait of a king whose primary focus is not personal glory, but dedication to God's purposes. This portrayal of David as a model of covenant loyalty invites the exiled community to renew their own commitment to God. The chronicler intentionally omits certain failures of David that are recounted in early history, such as his affair with Bathsheba, instead focusing on his role as the chosen king, worshiper, and covenant bearer. This selective retelling serves to encourage the exiles by reminding them of their own identity as a people with a divine purpose, chosen and set apart by God. Moreover, 1 Chronicles is not simply a retrospective look at David's accomplishments. It is a forward-looking narrative that points to the hope of a coming Messiah. The chronicler's emphasis on the Davidic line is a clear reminder of God's promise that one of David's descendants will reign eternally. This promise finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, who, as the New Testament declares, is the Son of David and the promised King who will establish a kingdom of justice and peace. For the post-exilic community, this hope of a future Messiah would have been deeply comforting, as it assured them that God's purposes for Israel would ultimately triumph, even if the nation was currently without a king. By centering on these themes, the book inspires the exiles to reclaim their identity and to look forward with hope to the coming Messiah, who would fulfill God's promises to David and establish a kingdom that would last forever. In this way, 1 Chronicles serves as both a reminder of Israel's glorious past and a vision for its redemptive future, pointing to the hope and restoration and the ultimate fulfillment of God's covenant through Christ.
1 Chronicles, Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech. The sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, the Kittites, and the Rodanites. The sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Raamah, and Sabteka. The sons of Raamah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who began to be a mighty one on the earth. Mizraim was the father of the Ludites, the Anamites, the Lehabites, the Naphtuhites, the Petrusites, the Casluhites, from whom the Philistines came, and the Caphtorites. And Canaan was the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and of the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. The sons of Shem: Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram: Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshech. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber. 2 sons were born to Eber. One was named Peleg because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother was named Joktan. And Joktan was the father of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jira, Hadoram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. So from Shem came Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Abram, that is, Abraham. The sons of Abraham were Isaac and Ishmael. These are their genealogies. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, then Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael. The sons born to Keturah, Abraham's concubine: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. The sons of Jokshan: Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Midian: Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All of these were Keturah's sons. Abraham was the father of Isaac. The sons of Isaac: Esau and Israel. The sons of Esau: Eliphaz, Reuel, Jeush, Jalem, and Korah. The sons of Eliphaz: Teman, Omer, Zepho, Gatam, Kenaz, and by Timnah, Amalek. The sons of Reuel: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. The sons of Seir: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. The sons of Lotan: Horai and Homam. Timnah was Lotan's sister. The sons of Shobal: Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. The sons of Zibeon: Aya and Anah. The sons of Anah: Dishon. The sons of Dishon: Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kiran. The sons of Ezer: Bilhan, Zaavan, and Achan. The sons of Dishon: Uz and Aaron. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the Israelites. Bela, son of Beor. His city was named Dinhabah. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Bozrah, reigned in his place. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Temanites reigned in his place. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, reigned in his place, and the name of his city was Avith. When Hadad died, Samlah from Masrekah reigned in his place. When Samlah died, Shaul from Rehoboth on the Euphrates reigned in his place. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, reigned in his place. When Baal-Hanan died, Hadad reigned in his place. His city was named Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. Then Hadad died. Now the chiefs of Edom were Timnah, Alva, Jethath, Aholabama, Elah, Pinan, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom. These were the sons of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The sons of Judah: Onan, and Shelah. These 3 were born to him by Bathshua the Canaanite. Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, who put him to death. Tamar, Judah's daughter-in-law, bore to him Perez and Zerah. Judah had 5 sons in all. The sons of Perez: Hezron and Hamel. The sons of Zerah: Zimri, Ethan, Heman, Calcol, and Dara, 5 in all. The son of Carmi: Achar, who brought trouble upon Israel by violating the ban on devoted things. The son of Ethan: Azariah. The sons who were born to Hezron: Jerahmeel, Ram, and Caleb. Ram was the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab was the father of Nahshon, a leader of the descendants of Judah. Nahshon was the father of Salmon, and Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed, and Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of Eliab his firstborn. Abinadab was born second, Shimeah third, Nathanael fourth, Radai fifth, Ozem sixth, and David seventh. Their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail, and the three sons of Zeruiah were Abishai, Joab, and Asahel. Abigail was the mother of Amasa, whose father was Jether the Ishmaelite. Caleb, son of Hezron, had children by his wife Azubah and by Jerioth. These were the sons of Azubah, Jesher, Shobab, and Ardon. When Azubah died, Caleb married Ephrath, who bore to him Hur. Hur was the father of Uri, and Uri was the father of Bezalel. Later, Hezron slept with the daughter of Machir, the father of Gilead. He had married her when he was 60 years old, and she bore him Segub. Segub was the father of Jair, who had 23 cities in the land of Gilead. But Gesher and Aram captured Havoth-Jair, along with Kenath and its 60 surrounding villages. All these were descendants of Machir, the father of Gilead. After Hezron died in Caleb-Ephrathah, his wife Abijah bore to him Asher, the father of Tekoa. The sons of Jerahmeel, the firstborn of Hezron, Ram his firstborn, Bunah, Oren, Ozem, and Ahijah. Jerahmeel had another wife named Atara, who was the mother of Onam. The sons of Ram, the firstborn of Jerahmeel, Maaz, Jamin, and Eker. The sons of Onam, Shammai and Jada. The sons of Shammai, Nadab and Abishur. Abishur's wife was named Abihail, and she bore to him Aban and Molid. The sons of Nadab, Seled and Appium. Seled died without children. The son of Appium, Ishai. The son of Ishai, Shishan. The son of Shishan, Ali. The sons of Jada the brother of Shammai, Jether and Jonathan. Jether died without children. The sons of Jonathan, Peleth and Zazah. These were the descendants of Jerahmeel. Shishan had no sons, but only daughters, but he did have an Egyptian servant named Jarah. Shishan gave his daughter in marriage to his servant Jarah, and she bore him Attai. Attai was the father of Nathan. Nathan was the father of Zabad. Zabad was the father of Ephlal. Ephlal was the father of Obed. Obed was the father of Jehu. Jehu was the father of Azariah. Azariah was the father of Helez. Helez was the father of Elasa. Elasa was the father of Sismai. Sismai was the father of Shallum. Shallum was the father of Jechamiah, and Jechamiah was the father of Elishama. The sons of Caleb, the brother of Jerahmeel, Mesha his firstborn, who was the father of Ziph, and Marisha his second son, who was the father of Hebron. The sons of Hebron, Korah, Tapua, Rechem, and Shema. Shema was the father of Raham, the father of Jorkim, and Rechem was the father of Shammai. The son of Shammai was Maon, and Maon was the father of Beth-zur. Caleb's concubine Ephah was the mother of Haran, Mosa, and Gazez. Haran was the father of Gazez. The sons of Jadai, Regem, Jotham, Geshan, Pelet, Ephah, and Sheaph. Caleb's concubine Maacah was the mother of Sheber and Tirhana. She was also the mother of Sheaph, father of Madmannah, and of Shiva, father of Machbenah and Gibeah. Caleb's daughter was Achsah. These were the descendants of Caleb. The sons of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrathah, Shobal, the father of Kiriath-Jearim, Salma, the father of Bethlehem, and Hereph, the father of Beth-Gader. These were the descendants of Shobal, the father of Kiriath-Jearim. Haroah, half of the Manahathites, and the clans of Kiriath-Jearim, the Ithrites, Puthites, Shumathites, and Mishraites. From these descended the Zorathites and Eshtaolites. The descendants of Salma, Bethlehem, the Netophathites, Atroth-Beth-Joab, half of the Manahathites, the Zorites, and the clans of the scribes who lived at Jabez, the Tirathites, Shimeathites, and Sukathites. These are the Kenites who came from Hamath, the father of the house of Rechab. These were the sons of David who were born to him in Hebron. The firstborn was Amnon by Ahinoam of Jezreel. The second was Daniel by Abigail of Carmel. The third was Absalom, the son of Maacah, daughter of King Talmai of Geshur. The fourth was Adonijah, the son of Haggith. The fifth was Shephatiah by Abital, and the sixth was Ithream by his wife Eglah. These 6 sons were born to David in Hebron, where he reigned 7 years and 6 months. And David reigned in Jerusalem 33 years, and these sons were born to him in Jerusalem: Shimeah, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon. These 4 were born to him by Bathsheba, daughter of Ammiel. David's other sons were Ibhar, Elishua, Eliphelet, Noga, Nepheg, Japhiah, Elishama, Eliada, and Eliphelet, 9 in all. These were all the sons of David, besides the sons of his concubines, and Tamar was their sister. Solomon's son was Rehoboam. Abijah was his son, Asa his son, Jehoshaphat his son, Joram his son, Ahaziah his son, Joash his son, Amaziah his son, Azariah his son, Jotham his son, Ahaz his son, Hezekiah his son, Manasseh his son, Ammon his son, and Josiah his son. The sons of Josiah: Johanan was the firstborn, Jehoiakim the second, Zedekiah the third, and Shallum the fourth. The successors of Jehoiakim: Jeconiah his son, and Zedekiah. The descendants of Jeconiah the captive: Shealtiel his son, Malchiram, Pedaiah, Shenazar, Jechemiah, Hoshama, and Nebadiah. The sons of Pedaiah: Zerubbabel and Shimei. The children of Zerubbabel: Meshullam and Hananiah, their sister Shelomith, and 5 others: Ashubah, Ohel, Berechiah, Hasadiah, and Jushab-Hesed. The descendants of Hananiah: Pelatiah, Jeshaiah, and the sons of Rephaiah, of Arnan, of Obadiah, and of Shechaniah. The 6 descendants of Shechaniah were Shemaiah and his sons: Hadish, Igal, Beriah, Neariah, and Shaphat. The sons of Neariah: Elioenai, Hizkiah, and Azrikam, 3 in all. The sons of Elioenai: Hodaviah, Eliashib, Pelaiah, Akab, Johanan, Delaiah, and Anani, 7 in all. The descendants of Judah: Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Reaiah, son of Shobal, was the father of Jahath, and Jahath was the father of Ahumai and Lahad. These were the clans of the Zorathites. These were the sons of Etam: Jezreel, Ishma, and Idbash, and their sister was named Hazelelponi. Penuel was the father of Gedor, and Ezer was the father of Husha. These were the descendants of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrathah, and the father of Bethlehem. Asher, the father of Tekoa, had 2 wives, Helah and Naarah. Naarah bore him Ahuzam, Hepher, Timeni, and Haahashtari. These were the descendants of Naarah. The sons of Helah were Zereth, Zohar, Ethnan, and Koz, who was the father of Anab and Zobeba, and of the clans of Aharhel, son of Haram. Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother had named him Jabez, saying, "Because I bore him in pain." And Jabez called out to the God of Israel, "If only you would bless me and enlarge my territory, may your hand be with me and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain." And God granted the request of Jabez. Caleb, the brother of Shua, was the father of Mehir, who was the father of Eshton. Eshton was the father of Bethrapha of Paseah, and of Tehinnah, the father of Ir-Nahash. These were the men of Rechah. The sons of Kenaz: Othniel and Seraiah. The sons of Othniel: Hahath and Meonothai. Meonothai was the father of Ophrah, and Seraiah was the father of Joab, the father of those living in Geharishim, which was given this name because its people were craftsmen. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh: Iru, Elah, and Nahum. The son of Elah: Kenaz. The sons of Jehalelel: Ziph, Ziphah, Tiriah, and Asarel. The sons of Ezra: Jether, Mered, Epher, and Jalen. And Mered's wife Bithiah gave birth to Miriam, Shammai, and Ishba, the father of Eshtemoa. These were the children of Pharaoh's daughter Bithiah. Mered also took a Judean wife, who gave birth to Jered, the father of Gedor, Heber, the father of Soko, and Jekuthiel, the father of Zanoah. The sons of Hodiah's wife, the sister of Nahum, were the fathers of Keilah the Garmite and of Eshtemoa the Maacathite. The sons of Shimon, Amnon, Rinnah, Ben-Hanan, and Tilon. The descendants of Ishai, Zoheth and Ben-Zoheth. The sons of Shelah, son of Judah, the father of Leka, Laada the father of Marisha, and the clans of the linen workers at Beth-asheba. Jocham, the men of Kozeba, and Joash and Seraph, who ruled in Moab, and Jashabai-Lehem. These names are from ancient records. These were the potters who lived at Netaim and Gedera. They lived there in the service of the king. The descendants of Simeon, Nemuel, Jamin, Jerub, Zerah, and Shaul. The sons of Shaul, Shallum, Mibsam, and Mishma. The sons of Mishma, Hamuel, Zachar, and Shimei. Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brothers did not have many children, so their whole clan did not become as numerous as the sons of Judah. They lived in Beersheba, Moladah, Hazer-Shual, Bilhah, Ezem, Tolad, Bethuel, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth-Marcaboth, Hazer-Susam, Beth-Biri, and Shearaim. These were their cities until the reign of David. And their villages were Etam, Ain, Rimmon, Token, and Ashan, 5 towns, and all their surrounding villages as far as Baal. These were their settlements, and they kept a genealogical record. Meshobab, Jamlik, Josha, son of Amaziah, Joel, Jehu, son of Joshabiah, son of Seraiah, son of Asiel, Elioenai, Jaakobah, Jeshahiah, Azariah, Adiel, Jesimiel, Benaiah, and Ziza, son of Shiphi, son of Alon, son of Jedaiah, son of Shimri, son of Shemaiah. These men, listed by name, were the leaders of their clans. Their families increased greatly, and they journeyed to the entrance of Geder to the east side of the valley in search of pasture for their flocks. There they found rich, good pasture, and the land was spacious, peaceful, and quiet, for some Hamites had lived there formerly. These, who were noted by name, came in the days of Hezekiah king of Judah. They attacked the Hamites and Meunites there in their dwellings, devoting them to destruction even to this day. Then they settled in their place because there was pasture for their flocks. And 500 of these Simeonites, led by Pelatiah, Neariah, Rephaiah, and Uzziel, the sons of Ishai, went to Mount Seir and struck down the remnant of the Amalekites who had escaped. And they have lived there to this day.
Thank you for joining me on the Narrative Reading Bible podcast. Tomorrow we will continue reading 1 Chronicles in book 3 of this series. We're going to read pages 39 to 49. Until then, take care and God bless.